we were seeing that we were building something that was really addressing the independent artist needs, because it was really addressing this big problem of when an artist wants to send music to a blog or a radio station or a music industry professional, when they do so, they just send an email and nobody answers. Hi, I'm Dorian, co-founder of Groover. I think my first connection to music was through my dad, who made me listen to a lot of great music. The classics from like the 70s, the 80s, Supertramp, David Bowie. He was also going a lot to stores and buying CDs in like the indie part, new things that we would listen in his car. And a lot of my favorite bands back then, like I would say like Beirut or Arcade Fire, we discovered through their first album, like bought by like chance in the stores, and it gave me this this passion for digging music and discovering new music, and then sharing it with my friends and people I knew around. And yeah, I've always been passionate about it. I never thought it would become a career, but I was spending more and more time in music, and it ended up being something super dear to me and that I was really passionate about. I think I was listening to a lot of music and I was sharing it with my friends, and sometimes it was becoming some of their favorite bands and bands that we were sharing the likes. And what I felt was happening is that I was kind of good at digging new music and finding things that I liked and sharing it. And I had always wanted to create a website and write articles about things. And I thought, why not share what I was discovering? I was going to the store and buying 3-4 CDs like every 2 weeks or something. I was like taking a lot of them, listening through the barcodes, and like going back home like 3 or 4 and listening. And I thought, why if I talk about like one song or one album per day, and I tried to stick to it, like not very long articles, but like 1 or 2 paragraphs. And I started a WordPress website in 2013, and I thought I was the first person to do that. And I realized like hundreds of people were doing this, and like the blogging sphere was kind of intense at the time. And it was super interesting to do. I brought my friends in. We started writing more and more articles, getting invited to concerts and festivals. I started shooting live acoustic sessions at my place. It was all about like having fun and understanding it. But I started getting introduced to the industry by just trying to invite artists and realizing, who should I reach out to? Should I reach out to the artist? Should I reach out to the manager, to the booker? It was super interesting. We organized also events. It was my blog called Indefagration that is still active, but not like super active, but it was started in 2013, so it's like a while back. And that introduced me to the music industry. And then what happened is I went through an entrepreneurship program with my co-founders in Groover today, Raphael and Romain. It was in UC Berkeley in California. And we really tried to focus on the needs of independent artists, because with my blog, I was realizing that I was receiving hundreds of emails from artists that wanted to get their music heard, and I couldn't just go through them. And my co-founder Romain was an artist and had released an EP and had struggled a lot with like everything around it. So we knew there were some struggles, and we really focused on that. And it was end of 2017 when we started exploring that field.
Never end up, embrace yourself, figure out the good here, take your time.
The MVP of Groover was a Google form in a WordPress website with a PayPal button that was completely separated, and something that was horrible. We still have the screenshots somewhere. Honestly, made in an afternoon. And we were like, nobody's ever gonna pay on this. I would have never paid on such a website. And we started it, and what we did first is email the people we had done discovery with first. And also with my blog, Indefagration, I was receiving a lot of emails. So I also tried to redirect some of the artists that were trying to reach out to me to the first version of Groover and tell them they could reach out to me in the progression and other blogs. Like, there were 10 of them that I had reached out at the time with the MVP, and we had some first people that paid. And there's a very fun story about that, which is the first ever person who paid. We saw like the transaction coming from PayPal, and the name was like Paolo Palmieri, and we're like, Palmieri is the last name of my co-founder Romain, and we're like, who is Paolo Palmieri? And we're like, is it like his dad who took like a different first name just for the joke or something? And we were so like troubled by it, because it's not like a common name at all. It's not like Johnson, or I don't know. It's very like specific. And it happened that it was somebody we didn't know that we had reached out, who had like a progressive rock band and was the first ever customer of Groover and paid on that form. And it was crazy to see like this. It's still like the how we were not believing what was happening was very funny, and stuck to our minds. We were seeing that we were building something that was really addressing the independent artist needs. I went to Mama Festival, which is like the equivalent of a small The Great Escape or a small South by, much smaller, but in Paris. And I went there, and everybody I was talking to was super excited about it. And I think one of the key reasons why it worked is because we focused first on a narrow market, which was Paris, basically, the Paris scene, and mostly like indie rock, indie folk, indie pop scene. And because we had that niche and we were meeting a lot of people there, we were able to have some sort of like word going around. We were organizing meetups, and we were seeing things happening, people talking about it, people being excited about it and saying it's exactly what we need and what's lacking here. Because it was really addressing this big problem of when an artist wants to send music to a blog or a radio station or a music industry professional, when they do so, they just send an email and nobody answers. Or they try to go through a PR agent, and the PR agent receives a lot of requests, so they don't accept to defend every project. So even when the artist has the budget, which can be massive sometimes, the PR agents are not going to defend all the projects. So artists sometimes are just feeling like they're sending messages in bottles and being super depressed about it. And realizing that, and even talking to like managers and publishers and labels who were all also feeling that for their artists, it was super interesting to see like how everything was connecting. And when we were talking to record labels, they were saying, oh, but we'd like to receive some tracks too. So we're like, okay, maybe we can focus not only on blogs, but on other types of curators and professionals. So it started to build that ecosystem, and it was super, super exciting, because from the moment we started with that MVP, it changed a lot, like the platform itself and the product and the website, but the model and the approach was the same, and the goal was the same. So we had really a path and the direction that we followed, and we tried to like enlarge. A key moment was the first meetup we did at my place in Paris after being in SF for a semester, and we came back and we started working on Groover like more actively, and we did that first meetup at my place, and a lot more people than we expected came. Everybody was super excited about it. That they didn't come just to network or meet. They really came because they were interested by what we were doing, and they were interested in Groover. And it was super interesting to see, super cool, super exciting. And I was like, there's really something happening here that can be organic, that can be viral. I spent a lot of time like nurturing that, but I was like, I feel we're really onto something. Nobody else is doing it because nobody else wants to do it, because it's a lot of like connections, a lot of human work to like get in touch with people. When I was talking to people at the time, or distributors or other companies, they were saying, it's never gonna happen. PR is always gonna be a human thing. It's never gonna be something automated, which is partly true. Like, PR agents are super important, and I think it's true of every aspect of the music industry. There's always some human work that cannot be replicated by tech. But in that sense, especially the human connections. But what was interesting was like, what we're doing is actually a tool that helps people connect, that helps actual people make connections. And I feel it's also super interesting today because when you see all the tools, all the music tech companies that are getting developed, they're all about automating things or AI-powered stuff. But there are not a lot of companies that are about connecting people together. And so we kind of like in a tangent because it's definitely a tech company. We have a lot of like tech people. We using AI a lot in our processes or to develop a website and gain velocity. And we really are using cutting edge technology on that. But at the same time, we do that to better connect actual people and make connections between real humans. So it's super exciting to have this kind of contrast. But it goes back to when we thought it was really working is that when we saw people actually meeting, things happening thanks to this Google form, WordPress website. And then we spent time. I think like a key moment was when we were accepted in Techstars in the Paris program, and we were the only like music or like company that was not super B2B, and the program was super excited with what we were doing, and to see that we had all this excitement around us, it's really what pushed us. I think it's when we saw that it was actually working. And getting some testimonials of people that had met their manager or their label, and we're like, okay, we actually, things are happening thanks to the platform. I think like the biggest thing that can happen is like really a meeting when people tell us, I sent a campaign, I got some like ads and inclusions in playlists and stuff, and it was great. But what changed everything was that one encounter that I had with one person thanks to the campaign I made on Groover, and it changed my life because that person became my manager. I dedicated fully to music for a few years. It really showed me that it was what I wanted to do. And we're like, okay, this is exactly why we built that platform. So this is definitely at that time, like when we were launching in Paris and we saw that excitement, I was like, I think we can really do something here. Of course, what we're trying to do is address all independent artists, or at least as many as we can. We now have 700,000 artists that are using the platform, which is a lot. We're still looking at improving, growing that in a lot of different territories, especially focusing on America, the Americas, and Europe for now. But we're always trying to explore other markets and other territories and trying to always adapt in a local by a local way, like in local market by local market way. But it's one of the key things that we want to do is be able to address all independent artists and all music genres in a very agnostic way and try to be, you do music, you're an artist, you can find people and you can find people to help you out on Groover, whatever music you do, wherever you are in the world.